everyone. Good day. Jason, thank you for being here and being a constant support for me. I appreciate you so much. Hello, we're gonna let the flow carry this live out there. And I'm gonna make sure that I have other notifications turned off here. How is everyone doing? Happy Libra season to all. Happy birthday to all the lovely Libras out there. I hope that you are enjoying the beautiful balance that your season has to offer. Whew. We're gonna just let things flow. It takes a couple minutes. Today's tea is Earl Grey, organic Earl Grey tea. I've also got coffee, so I have two things going on here, and water. Gotta have that caffeine. Once you're in, let me know how you are doing. Drop on in, drop on in. I'm gonna burn a little Palo Santo here. A little Palo Santo to clear and balance, kind of anchor us in here. Oh, I see someone's watching. Jason's here. Thank you. Appreciate you so much. Still watching for it to pop out there. Got a little Palo Santo burning here. Yes. It's just very nice to have that roll in there. Whew, now it's right in my face. Happy Friday. How's everyone today? Let me know. This week did fly by. Oh, I never saw the notification go out. Interesting. Sometimes I don't see that go out, and it's the first couple minutes, so very interesting. Hello, Parjas, Purba. How are you today? I'm burning a little Palo Santo here, just getting all grounded in. How is everyone doing? How's everyone feeling? Say hello in the chat. Welcome to Creators on the Crest. We're gonna get all settled in and give it a few minutes here, but I'll start kind of talking through what we have to offer here on the channel. I am live here every Friday at 10 a.m. for Frequency Friday. And I would like to let you know, those of you that are looking for personal mini readings and would like to get a free mini reading, I am live every other Sunday evening on this channel from 7 to 8 p.m. Central Time. And the upcoming live Q&As, okay, are the 19th, so that's in a few days, 7 to 8 p.m., all right? And I recommend coming in early around 7, especially if you have a burning question you want to get answered, because the spots fill up pretty quick on those Sunday night lives. The 19th of October, the 2nd of November, the 16th of November, and the 14th of December. There will be no Sunday lives on the 30th of November or the 28th of December due to the holidays. Teresa's here. Hello. Which thing in your neck? This is just a glass piece, like a pendant. I just liked the colors of it, and I have kind of the circles going on today. So I tried to wear a different shirt, but I was so hot because, it just hasn't cooled down here yet. And I'm a woman of a certain age and I get those hot flashes. So I had one this morning and I just had to put on the tank top and just try to stay cool. I've got the fan on me here. But we are settling in for today. We are going to talk about the seeds of equilibrium today. So in honor of Libra season, Libra is represented by the scales. It's about balance, right? And so we're really going to take a deep dive into the Libra energies. Try to make the most of them because we have an upcoming new moon happening on the 21st, next week, October 21st, the new moon in Libra, right? And by that time, we want to have intentions set. We want to have our intentions anchored in. But in order to do that, with the way that the moons have been cycling, particularly for the last month into the next 6 months, it's been a little bit different pattern. So normally new moons are about planting the seeds, right? Seeds of equilibrium. But we also want to be sure that the soil is rich, right? And we're speaking energetically here. We want rich, enhanced soil that we can plant our intentions in so that our manifestations will grow powerful and wonderful in our lives, right? So that's really what we're going for today, the kind of energy. We're going to be doing some gentle releasing. So things like heavy energies like guilt or grudges, right? Those kind of heavy energies that hold us back. We're going to work on releasing those. Now, remember, when we work with forgiveness and we work with this release, it's not about the other person. It's not about the person that wronged you. It's about you. And it's about freeing up your energy so that you can step more into your creativity and be in your creative space and feel empowered. Okay, so just being sure there that I clarify that because Libra season can oftentimes tilt us one way or another. And sometimes we find ourselves feeling quite heavy, and we're looking to lighten that and bring ourselves into balance. So the readings that we do today are going to go into that. We're going to start off today with an oracle reading in honor of planting the seeds of equilibrium. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to look into different types of relationships. Okay, so Libra is about relationships. It's about finding balance in relationships. So number one, first and foremost, we have the relationship with ourselves, right? So we're going to take a look at that. We have relationships with our partner, if you're in a partnership, okay? Or perhaps it's your relationship to who or what type of partner you're trying to manifest for yourself. We have siblings, right? Some of us are siblings. I know there's some only children out there, but in your life, if you can identify the person who has felt like a sibling to you, we're going to look into that energy. We're going to look into the energy of the parent, right? So that's where we kind of peer into the ancestry. Could be mother, could be father. We're going to get some messages around that. And then we're going to look into, of course, the child. So if you have physical children in this life, we'll be looking into those energies. It could also resonate with the energy of your inner child. And then, of course, we'll look into work relationships, right? So we're looking at bosses, managers, co-workers, maybe even people that report to you if you are in a position of leadership. And we'll look into, if you're in school, like the energy of your professor or your lab assistant or whoever you might be dealing with, right? So there'll be a little bit for everybody in this particular segment today. So the way this kind of works is I'll start off with an oracle reading. We're going to use 2 sets of oracle cards today, and I'll just show you really quick. Harjas Purba. You know what? I was a science teacher in the past, and my degree is in biology, and I'm in the Midwest of the United States. But you know, I really am also quite spiritual. So I like to mix both what I know of science with spirituality, right? And find the best of both worlds. So today, energetically, we'll be using here the Shaman's Dream Oracle. I love this. It's a bit of a mysterious deck, so it kind of leads us into Scorpio season, which is coming up next. I think we'll get some really nice messages about relationships and the themes of the relationships we're dealing with in that particular deck. And then this deck was out and I just kept trying to put it back and get a different one, and it didn't want to be put away. So it's the Sea Soul Journeys Oracle for us today as well with the Oracle reading. So we've got a couple really powerful, yet subtle and gentle at the same time types of decks. And I think that'll be a really nice combo for the energies of Libra. And as we look to moving into Scorpio around the 22nd, 23rd, right? We've got the new moon and then we have a change in the astrological season. All right. So it's lovely to see you all here. Please feel free to drop some comments in the chats. Maybe you're dealing with certain relationships or your focus is on certain relationships. I'd love to hear about whatever you're willing to share. Let me know you're here if you haven't already. I see Teresa, Jason, and Harjas Purba have been communicating quite a bit in here. And thank you for your wonderful comments. Be sure to subscribe to the channel. We do this every Friday. Plus, I have the free live Q&A sessions every other Sunday night, which are really nice for you to come on and ask a personal question. And then, of course, other content that goes out periodically. So keep an eye out for everything. Everything you need to know also will be in the description of the videos. Ways to connect with me on social media. If you need to get in touch with me via email or anything like that, you will have that information below in the description. So be sure to browse through that. All right. So Creators on the Crest is a place where we rise with the tide and align with the truth, because we are about growth and evolution, and doing that in a way that is aligned with the natural organic timeline, with the natural prime creator of the universe, with that energy of source that flows through us. And we're here to make the world a better place. So if you've landed here at Creators on the Crest, you are someone who is dedicated and committed in your own unique way to making the world a better place and to evolving, learning for yourself, helping others learn, and possibly even being in positions of leadership. So let me know where you're from, what you're up to, what you think about all this, and we'll get going into the Oracle reading here. I've got a couple things of caffeine. I've got coffee and I've got Earl Grey tea today. I am doubling it up here. Oh my goodness, yes. And I've got a fan on me. Woo. Because I get very hot. The hot flashes for the ladies of my age, right? Yes. And Harjas, where are you from? I'm interested in hearing where you're from. Jason is from where I'm from, the Midwest. We're in Kansas City, Missouri. A lot of people think Kansas City is only in Kansas, but it's actually in the state of Missouri as well. It's one of those cities that overlaps. So we actually, where I live, we have trees. It's not like Kansas is known to be quite flat with no trees and beautiful sunflowers though in July. But in Missouri, we have Branson and we have the Ozarks, and there's a lot of hilliness down there, and that extends up into Kansas City on the Missouri side. India, ooh, what part of India are you from, if you feel called to share? So it's later in the day there for you. It's kind of morning for us still here. All right, we're going to get into the Shaman's Dream Oracle, and I'll watch for your comments as we go. We're going to pull a few cards for the energy of the self to start with today, okay? So this is going to be, as we're working with the Libra season energy, in whatever way we're meant to work with it, but it has the theme of bringing things into balance, equilibrium, homeostasis. Let's kind of make sure our energies are in line, right? And so we are going to be focusing on the highest and best messages for ourselves as we navigate this Libra energy and as we sow the seeds of equilibrium for ourselves. Punjab, India, wonderful. Well, welcome. You're most welcome here at Creators on the Crest. Oh, and I love this because I'm already seeing the theme here emerge for ourselves with this Libra energy. And we're going to get a Sea Soul Journeys Oracle card too. If anybody asks anything on TikTok, will let me know. Okay, so Jason's streaming me on TikTok. Hello, TikTok. Hello. I'm live on Jason's live. Yes, awesome. Thank you, Jason. Yeah, be sure to tune in to us. We both do content. Both Jason and I do content, and we offer, between the two of us, offer a lot of different varieties. So I think you'll enjoy checking it out. Okay, so for ourselves, as we're diving into this oracle reading here, starting with equalizing and having equilibrium for ourselves, we got number 39, okay? And 3 plus 9, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1 plus 2, 3. So we have kind of like a 3 and a 9 vibe there, kind of like that 3, 6, 9 energy, which I like. Feels very clearing to me. And the card is called Me Tox. So instead of detox, it's Me Tox, and it's about repairing the body, mind, and spirit. Now let me hold the card up so you all can see this. Look how beautiful this card is. It is truly about taking the time with yourself to get clear within, okay? To get clear within, to cleanse your energies, right? So there's energies where we can set up protection, and then there's times where we're releasing and we're embodying those clearing energies. And that's what this Me Talks card is about. And I'll get into that just a little bit more here. Oh, thank you, Harjas. Anytime I visit India, I would love to come see you out in India. Absolutely. I have never been there. It is on my bucket list. It is on my bucket list. It just looks like such an amazing dynamic place to travel to and to immerse myself in that different culture, right? All right, so Me Talks, repairing the body, mind, and spirit, right? Or even if you want to use the word soul, because I kind of talk about that sometimes, about the different use of words. Whatever word makes you feel most embodied, you know, connection to spirit. You could be talking about your own spirit. Is it lively? Is it fun? Is it playful? Is your spirit feeling heavy? Do you feel like heavier energies? Try to identify, is there sadness in there, right? Oftentimes your mind, body, and spirit or soul will be reflections of one another. So you'll feel maybe discomfort somewhere in your body that's informing you about your energies. Now, what's beautiful about this card, and it's a little hard to see, but the character in here appears to be kind of an indigenous character with a beautiful like feather plumes coming out of like a powerful headdress there. And we're in like an old-fashioned kind of like clawfoot looking tub with a very like unique way about it here. And then there's this plume at the base here of the tub where the feet would be. There's this plume that looks like a feather. And feathers to me indicate lightness. They indicate messages that are coming in for you, and to receive these messages with a light-hearted nature, an open heart. And the character is working with the steam and the bubbles from the bath to make and envision what they want to create. And so there's some images, some different things that are almost elusive and very hard to see in these bubbles. They almost look like little creatures or little like alien type creatures, which is very, very interesting. So some of you may have like a starseed type connection, or you may be connecting to other worlds, other timelines. We can absolutely do that, as we are multidimensional beings. Harja says ghost. Yes, at times it could be understanding that there's other presences around, right? If you are very sensitive, so if you are someone who is a medium, or you're able to perceive and interact with spirits, this may be a good time to cleanse yourself, because not only are you dealing with the spiritual nature of people in the physical world, you're tuned into the spiritual nature of people who are on the other side. And that's a lot for an energy system to handle. So for those of you who are sensitives, highly sensitive, and mediums, and have those skills, the detox is your detox. That's what you're being informed of. And you're meant, like I said before, you're meant to receive this lightly, right? We're not adding any weight to ourselves right now. We have enough stress in life, right? We have enough stuff going on. We're meant to receive. May you know that you are worthy of the gift. All right. So we want to cleanse our energy, have our little detox, right? So that we can receive these higher messages, right? From our connection, our greater connection to the natural prime creator of the universe, and the way in which we reflect as a fractal, as a complete version of the universe expressing itself through our unique nature. And each of us has our unique characteristics. But for the seeds of equilibrium, we're meant to cleanse so that we can receive the higher energies, the higher information for our and best good. All right. So that's the energy of the self. That's what the self is asking for at this time. Let's get into some of the other relationships we have, since we are honoring Libra season here. Let's get into partnerships. Okay, so what are we meant to know as creators in our partnerships? Whether it be something to bring into balance, something to release, what is the theme that we need to be reflective of during this time? Oh, very interesting. So I'm getting two cards here. When I do the little knocking, I'm clearing the cards. Okay, I'm clearing them for the next energy that's coming in. Hello, thank you for the hearts. Whoever's throwing the hearts up, appreciate you so much. I see you. Safanor, hello. Welcome to Creators on the Crest. I hope you enjoy the live and are able to settle in. Okay, so when we're working with the energy of partnership, now remember, if you're not currently in a partnership, this could be the energies of the partnership that you're looking to manifest, or the energies that you might want to clear out before you go out dating or look for that partner, right? What's really interesting here is I feel active energy coming in. So this is a very active energy during this Libra season here, where partnerships are really coming into our view, whether we want them to or not. We got number 54. 5 plus 4 is 9. For those of you who like the numerology, 9 is the number of the Hermit card. So I feel like some of you may be coming out of the Hermit mode. Even if you're in a relationship, at times you can go into your own personal hermit mode, right? And need to take your own space to figure something out. And sometimes that could feel like a closing off to your partner, right? But we all have to have those times where we're reintegrating the self, even in partnerships. And there's something that's being initiated here in partnerships, okay? The Hermit oftentimes allows us the time and energy to focus on ourselves in order to do that, right? In order to initiate ourselves into the next level. And we got the Crossing, initiation. Very interesting card. It's kind of like that brown and sepia and kind of got the gold and brown colors here. Not a lot of color coming in on this card quite yet. So I do think some of you are perhaps manifesting, or you're crossing a bridge. You've come out of partnerships or a phase in your existing partnership, and you're ready to move on to the next. And we have what looks here like a portal, okay? And I can see a person standing at the portal, and they're casting a shadow here onto that bridge. So some of you are right there initiating yourselves into a new level of partnerships and relationships, okay? Whether you're in a partnership currently or not. Thank you, Safa. Thank you. Right? This, yes, wow, it is a powerful card. It's a powerful image. It's very subtle because we see, more than anything, we see that bright portal. It's very hard to distinguish that there's a person in the light there, but they are casting a shadow there. And we have a lot of clouds. Some of you may be coming out of a time where you have felt really down about your partnership or your relationship, or you've been dating and you just haven't found the right person for you. It just hasn't lined up. And perhaps it's this initiation that's taking place to help bring you into the newer energy. So you'll pass through this portal. And I'm thinking like it's going to go from the browns and the golds into a world of color. So you're beginning to color your relationships, your partnerships with brilliance, right? And so those of you that are in partnerships, see if you can identify where you might be leveling up with your partner, you and your partner leveling up together. What are you being initiated into? Some of you, this may have to do with your children growing and entering into different phases of life, and it affects, right, your partnership, the decisions you're making, right? Others of you, you could be working together with your partner. You may actually like own a business together or something like that, and the two of you are going to work together to pass into this new energy. We do get an energy also of persistence here. So this may take a little work, right? When we work on ourselves and we're in this beautiful place of, oh, I just get to be in the bath by myself, just detoxing and just having some me time, and and we get back and we get aligned, we can handle that, right? But when we come into partnerships, whoo, a new dynamic unfolds, and we have to have persistence. May your ripples build the swell. Some of you are building with your partner, or you're building a new foundation from which you want to embody partnership for yourself. This is really, I really like this energy for those of you who are single, because I feel that there's been really important work that you've done for yourself, and your standards have risen here. Okay, I froze for a second there, but I'm back. I promise I'm back. Anytime a call comes in, like it freezes my phone, I try to send it to voicemail, but I should be back. All right, so those of you who are single, you're really working on leveling up, raising the standards. Those of you in partnerships, this looks a little different, right? Sometimes in a partnership, we can be set in our ways. We can be trying to establish our own space in the partnership, or vying for that time and space and attention, depending on what our responsibilities are and how the dynamic works. So we have to have some persistence and some willingness to keep walking the path. And when it says, may your ripples build the swell, that means that tide is going to come in for you, okay? So it's just about, what are you initiating into? Maybe it's a more profound soul level kind of love, right, that you're looking for. And you can absolutely do that whether you're single or in a relationship, right? So we've got that there, all right? And that is for partnerships. Very interesting energies there. Initiations, portals. Libra season, I often see Libra as a gate in and of itself, as a portal, because it is the gate that's going to check us every time and say, okay, are your energies balanced? Are your energies balanced within? Are your energies balanced with your partner, right? All right, so let's get into the sibling energy here. We're going to go back to the Shaman's Dream Oracle. Those of you who have brothers and sisters, whichever one, if you have multiple, whichever one pops into your mind, I would roll with that. Trust your intuition. Let's look into sibling energy right now and see what we need to know about siblings, okay? Now, sibling energy can be both beautiful and challenging all at the same time. So think of your brothers and sisters. If you're an only child, think about someone who has been like a brother or sister to you, okay? All right, so one of the things that's coming up, and it's giving me very much the vibe of like the Akashic Records kind of vibe. We got number 7, and it says covenant, which is a sacred contract, okay? A sacred contract. This is indicating that with our siblings, we have some sort of soul level contract, okay? So one of the things that I do believe happens quite often is that families, right? And what I'm talking about is the family that you're born into, your birth family, these souls will reincarnate together again and again to work on and work out certain dynamics, okay? And so sometimes this can feel a little challenging, like, oh my gosh, like they're so different than me. You can have siblings in a family and each one is just so extremely different from the others. They have different missions and purposes. They have different soul level maturities, right? And so this speaks to, you have a contract. Now it's our job to figure out what those contracts are. If you're here on Creators on the Crest, you're listening and you're tuning in and you have a sibling in mind, you're the one that's here. So you're the one that's going to figure out what's this about, and then how can I fulfill this contract, right? And for others, this may be a sacred contract of we're dedicated to one another in friendship. We're dedicated to supporting one another in this. We're dedicated to, some of you may have dealt with a very difficult parental dynamic, okay? And you stood by each other, protected one another, right? During childhood. That's the contract for some of you. These are oftentimes, when we talk about sacred contracts and we get into more of the Akashic Records, the Library of Souls, and we really look at this from a higher level perspective, this is tricky stuff. It's not always the easiest. So sometimes you might think, well, I don't get along with my sibling at all, or we're not close, or there's ways in which we're close and ways in which we're not. And it's up to us to kind of look into that and maybe adjust some of our behaviors, some of our approaches, some of our communications with our siblings to see if we can further honor and fulfill that contract. And it also says, from the Sea Soul Journeys Oracle, it says space. May your heart and your scope expand. Now we could look at this from a very, just mundane level and say, oh, this might be about taking space from your siblings before you communicate or something like that. And for some of you that may be true, but I'm feeling into this energy more of like, can you hold the energy of love and understanding for your sibling, for your brother or sister in a way that is more all-encompassing, in a way that accepts them for who they are, even if they are that person who has been difficult for you in your life, okay? So taking space, taking that time. Maybe some things need to settle for a few of you. Some of you may be dealing with like sibling rivalries or just competitive energies. If one sibling is subconsciously projecting rivalry kind of energies on another sibling, it can be difficult. It can be kind of tough, right? And so if you're feeling that, how can you expand to understand that that's something that they're going through, that's lessons that they need to learn, and have the boundaries, but also love them in your heart of hearts, right? I'm getting a lot of love here. I'm getting a lot of love them. There's sacred contracts happening with siblings going on right now. Not surprising during this season that that's the case. Okay, let me know if you're still here. Drop me something in the comments. Let me see you. Drop some hearts. Oh. Still here. Still vibing. Hi, Teresa. Thank you for your constant and lovely presence in Creators on the Crest. You are so appreciated. Safa wanted to play a game. Well, that's not a bad idea. Maybe one Frequency Friday we will do like a fun game, okay? Maybe we will do that. But today's theme, we're getting a little more serious, I gotta say. We don't shy away from some of the deeper level soul work here, Safa. So, but I like your idea of play a game. I can get very serious. I have a Scorpio in my North Node, and so the more I age, the more serious I get about my purpose and my mission and all that. Harjas is still here. Wonderful. Okay, lovely to see you. Right, and so to play would be fun, I think. I think that would be fun. It would be fun to do a whole Frequency Friday where we're a little bit more playful. And I do have some card decks that are like that. Tressa says, my siblings are religious where I'm more spiritual. Right. Remember I talked about the different soul ages. So you may be the older soul. You've already traveled through the fractal experience of the religions, right? Or the Abrahamic religions, which that's fine. Some people need to be on that path. They're on that path for a reason. They're going through sorting that out for their soul, right? And that's a very personal experience. But it also, what we see happen a lot is that their energy is very locked down in that. And so they don't often open up into more enlightening conversations so easily. So it can be a little harder to find their portal of receptivity and where it can match yours, right? Because your frequency is over here, you've kind of traveled, and they're kind of on the spiral in a different place. And there's no judgment there. It's just something that's very very common, very common. And they're in our lives for a reason, and we're in their lives for a reason. Seen me cards. They're definitely not receptive. Yeah, and is there a way that you can expand your heart to have that kind of understanding? Now, sometimes when I'm having trouble with that because of the way someone's behaved, or they've actually been, maybe even kind of mean or cruel about something, or they're very dismissive of you, right? When I feel that energy, I understand that I'm recognizing that, and I'm feeling it as a mismatch so strongly because of how much I've evolved. And if I can find it in my heart to understand, and maybe even I know that you're dealing with adults, but maybe if you can even see them like a child who is growing up still and hasn't learned certain lessons, right? And they're defiant, or they're testing their world. It's doesn't mean you should sit there and take abuse or any kind of demeaning dynamic. You should have your healthy boundaries, but can you expand your heart to an understanding of, on the solar spiral of creation, they're at a different place. They're at a place that you once were at some phase in your soul's development, and you were able to graduate it, and that you're in their life to show them that. They may not achieve it this lifetime or the next few lifetimes, but eventually, remember, today's the seeds of equilibrium. We're planting seeds for others. Where we get frustrated is we don't always see the growth. We don't always see the outcome of the seeds we've planted, but that doesn't mean they're not important to plant. And just because we can't see it, right, on the timeline we're on, or the place, our particular perspective, doesn't mean it's not going to happen and that those people aren't going to have breakthroughs. So if you can find a way to expand your heart and your scope to include them, doesn't mean you bring them into your world and let them mess everything up and cause chaos, right? But it means, can we hold that energetic space for them as a gift, like you would gift a child a seed of wisdom or knowledge, right? Yeah. They think very black and white, like they aren't able to step into that gray. Yes, and there's lessons in that for them, as difficult as it is, and as much as your heart would like them to open up into other spaces, they're meant to feel that polarity, right? Because we do live in a universe of contrasting expressions. And then on top of that, we come into the physical world and there's all these inversions on the alchemical processes, which take people and kind of, trap their souls even. But it's up to them and their soul's journey to break out of that. And for some people, that's going to take lifetimes, right? And that's where it can be difficult. So in whatever way you might be able to hold that space, right? I'm not saying cross boundaries. I'm not saying invite them in and just let them, sow the seeds of chaos. Remember, you have the perspective, so you are planting seeds of equilibrium. So what's one small way you can do that? It could just be you right now today, just closing your eyes and wishing them to have a good day, that they have a balanced day, that they have a day full of awarenesses and breakthroughs. You could just wish that for them, right? It can be something that simple. All right. Moving on to parents. Moving on to the parents. And this one, I wanted to do siblings first because we kind of get our feet wet, and then we'll move into parents here. Okay, so for parents, we got number 2. Beloved, radical acceptance. And we got fire energy here. Now this can this can be tough here, because even though those of us who are coming here to Creators on the Crest and we're settling into these energies, we're discovering, we're explorers, we're seeing what's next on the soul's journey, we're looking deeper than the surface level, we still were a little physical baby that needed love and attention growing up, and turned to our mother and our father for that, right? Wanting to be accepted by them. In some cases, not being accepted or having characteristics in ourselves that were diminished, ignored, thought to be bad. Some of us were made to feel bad about what our gifts were by our parents. Our parents' inability to recognize our gifts, talents, and abilities, and to embrace those, and to help us reach into those, right? They did not have that, right? Some of us are now parents. So we're looking at ourselves from this perspective of, how am I parenting? Am I doing the best I can? Did they do the best they could? That doesn't excuse poor actions or poor treatment, but for the level that the parental individuals were at, can we find some sort of acceptance, right? You see how these Libra energies pull us into, and believe me, I had a resistance to even talking about relationships. I'm like, oh, the hard work of relationships, right? The hard work of relationships. And these dynamics, right? And it's just like, sometimes they can be so exhausting. But we're here to do this level of work. We're not here to just be by ourselves and constantly focus on ourselves. We have to focus on dynamics with others and relationships and relating, right? And radical acceptance. It's not the easiest to get there, right? Especially with parents and upbringings. Jason put in the grandpa emoji because he's now a grandparent, and by de facto default I am as well. And so we're exploring that right now. And then you get a grandchild in the mix, and then you start seeing, oh, now I see what patterns have trickled down, or I see my little self in that little thing that I'm watching now, right? And I'm seeing that energy level, right? And so, yes, Jason, believe it or not, even though he does not look like he's old enough to be a grandpa, he's a grandpa. And we've got a 2-year-old grandson, and like me, he's a Cancer. So I'm like, we're little crabs together. We're both like, when we just wake up, give us a few minutes. We're crabby. We've learned that after nap time the other day. Yeah. So it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. I have my mom, Mimi, is here now, helping with the kids, helping them with their homeschool while I do the live. So she comes on the Fridays that they're here with me, and then she helps with that. So grandparents, yes, we are getting into that. Parents and grandparents. Some grandparents parent their children and then end up being a parent again for their grandchild, and many blessings to them, because that's tough. Sometimes circumstances arise there, but we're being called with the parental energy. Okay, so whether it's you as a parent or you're thinking of your mother or your father, we're being called into radical acceptance, and that would include accepting our parents' shortcomings or their behaviors. Now, it doesn't mean we accept them as okay or as right or as healthy. We just accept the reality of where they were at and what they were able to do and not do. Okay, so there's a distinguishing factor there that's hard for a lot of people, right? It doesn't mean if you're estranged, it doesn't mean you have to call them up and try to forgive, because some parents just aren't in that place, right? Sometimes the parents, from a soul level perspective, are actually the younger, right? And so there's a lot of learning that can go on in this. And sometimes that acceptance, if we can just accept that, then we can shift our actions and how we work with our energy with that. All right. We also here got the beauty card when it comes to parents, and it says, may you perceive nature's artistry afresh. All right. I really feel like this is something to do with extracting something beautiful from your ancestry. So I want you to think of the parent that you struggled with the most, right? And try to think of their most beautiful characteristic and how that might shine through in your own life here. Can we reach into that energy? Can we reach into that energy and find the beauty of even that one small thing? My grandmother was an excellent seamstress, right? My mother is excellent with children, with those young, that K through 2 aged, second grade, kindergarten through second, very good with kids that age. Can I embrace that despite being different from her, or her being more religious, me being more spiritual, right? Can we find the beauty in the dynamic? Can we find the good things and work on acceptance through that? It's going to be transformative. This is fire. This is hard. It's hot. It's the fires of transformation, alchemically speaking. But look, we have like the shape of a heart here, right? And it is about accepting and holding a space of love in whatever way we can for that. And that's both the gift and that's both the challenge, right? Challenge and the gift. All right. How's everyone doing? Just a quick check-in. I'm going to get a sip of tea. We're going to move into pulling a few oracle cards for relationships with our children or our inner child. Those of you who do not have physical children, maybe you have a niece or a nephew, whoever pops into your mind, maybe it's your own inner child. We're going to get into this now. So, I have 2 children. I might see both of them in this. I might just see one. You might have multiple kids. Let it be. Whatever comes into your mind, let it be okay. These messages are meant to speak to your intuition, and you're meant to trust that intuition. If you're here and you're enjoying and you've not yet put a thumbs up on the video, I would very much appreciate that, and your wonderful comments in the chat. Okay, so we're getting into the child energy here and what we need to know about our own children or our inner child when it comes to equilibrium, to balancing out the energies. We got number 20 from the Shaman's Dream Oracle, and it is called Feast of Plenty, Choices and Their Consequences. Whew. There's a lot going on in this card, so I'm just going to hold it up here for a moment. We've got a play on the sword and the stone, but there are two swords here. We've got a crystal growing out of a crystal ball, all sitting on top of like a viney structure or a tree with grapes, like a grapevine. And it's like unfolding. It is so bizarre. It's like this base is all unfolding. We've got a bee, productivity. Some of you are focused on building your family by adding more children. Some of you may be becoming grandparents. This is such an interesting card to get with the child energy, because I really think it brings to the forefront of how our decisions affect those that come after us, or how our decisions could even be based from a certain age we were, like the inner child that got where our soul was fragmented at a certain age, and we're working on reclaiming that. And so that age of our inner child comes up and starts to look at this choices and consequences. At any time, you can choose to embody, embrace, and explore yourself as a child, like your inner child. You can go into yourself and reach into your different ages and see what was going on there. Was there enough? Or was there plenty of something that wasn't resonating with you? What was going on there, right? Very much what I'm feeling here is a deep level of concern about our actions, our words, our behaviors, and how they affect the next generation, the children. Whether that's healing our inner child, or healing our relationship with our children, or strengthening our relationship with our children as we move through different phases. I like the bee coming up here because I feel like the bee represents activity. And I'm starting to get a little bit of release here. When anytime I start like getting burps or things start coming up, I feel some of you are releasing and maybe giving yourself a little credit for the job you've done with a certain child. Maybe some of you are a little too tough on yourself here, and you really are doing a good job, and you need to be reminded, hey, you're doing a really good job. You make mistakes, sure you do, but you're doing a really good job raising your child or raising your children. There's so many gifts here, right? Pramod, hello. Now, the other card we got here, which I feel is really important, is free. May your soul sing freely. Yes, we want to release any guilt. I'm especially feeling guilt for some of you when it comes to something to do with your child, okay? So make sure you're releasing that heavy energy of guilt and allowing that to float away. In that way, you're going to help the child that's important in your life fly free. And that's what we're looking for. We're looking for that freedom, right? The freedom to be who they are. Giving yourself the permission and the freedom to be who you are. Absolutely. Okay, quick Pramod, you're asking about, can I tell you yours or can I do a reading for you? Come back on Sunday evenings. It's 7 to 8 Central Time, United States time. So that might be early morning for you, from wherever you are in the world. On the 19th, October 19th, I do an hour where I do free mini readings for people. We would love to see you there. It's a great community. And you'll see it here on the channel. You can check out previous weeks if you're interested in what that looks like. So thank you for asking. When it comes to children, choices, consequences, reflections, all with the goal of feeling more free and being more free. It could be also indicating the carefree energy of a child, right? And that maybe that's something we could learn from and we could embody. Okay, our last oracle message is going to be in relationships to our boss, our manager, our coworker, someone who reports to us if we're in a position of leadership, or a professor if you're a student. So those of you who are in the workforce somehow, some way, maybe it's a business partner, we're looking at the work and career kind of relationships here. So, and I'm already getting some interference there. So some of you may be dealing with some sticky work situations or relationships in the workplace that are a little tricky, sticky. I want to say tricky and sticky, but let's see. How can we work on moving through that? How can we sow the seeds of equilibrium and bring those relationships into balance? We got number 48, Sky Dancers. Beautiful card. Surrender. Let me show you the picture. This is from the Shaman's Dream Oracle, 48. Could be an age for some. That could reference an age of you or a coworker. Or it could just represent how your stability and how your abundance is impacted. So, Pramod, these are readings for everyone who's joining this live or on the replay. This is for the creators community here on YouTube. These are the collective readings for our creators, okay? All right, Sky Dancers. So some of you may be impacted with your ability to shine. I feel for some of you in the workplace, there's maybe a toxic competition and somebody trying to block your shine, or you're just not being seen or valued for your true gifts. You're being called to rise above that. You're being called to rise above that and set yourself free from those energies, right? Now that can be hard when you're dealing with the person day in, day out, right? But this person is providing a very important reflection for you. Some of you who are students, you may be in a place where you understand the concepts better than your teacher, better than your professor, and you may feel a little bored or held back by that. You're meant to eclipse that energy. You're meant to transform that. You're meant to understand that, okay? Because sometimes people in places of power aren't as evolved as they should be or as we would like them to be for the optimal learning experience, okay? Oh, thank you, Pramod. Yes, I definitely, we're going deeper into the soul energies here on my channel. So I don't just, touch on the surface. We go a little bit deeper, and I'm glad that that's coming through in the energy for you. And I'm glad you feel like you could listen. And even if you have other things going on, you can always come back later. This is actually episode 40 of Frequency Friday. So there's 39 more Frequency Friday episodes, and nearly all, okay? Some of the messages are time bound, like I did them for certain times, but I think you'll find a lot of timeless energy in the messages that I share. And so they can be of value even if you go back to previous episodes, and you can listen in whatever order you want, okay? You can listen whatever your intuition tells you to do. That's what you should do. And always trust that over even what I say, right? You must trust yourself. You must critically think and tune into your own intuition, because this is you surrendering into your greatness, right? So no matter who you encounter in your workplace, in your career, you're meant to surrender into your greater knowing. That doesn't mean you have to stay in something that's toxic or something you don't like, right? If you have a boss or a manager who's particularly cold and they lack understanding and they aren't able to really hold the space for the value that you bring, you probably shouldn't be there. Maybe you're surrendering into, I'm ready for the next phase. Jenny Carlson's here. Hello, Jenny. Welcome to Creators on the Crest. Glad to have you here. Oh, thank you, Pramod. You're so kind. I really appreciate your kind comments. Now, the other card we got from the Sea Soul Journeys Oracle is Allow. May you soften into what is. So I think Jason and I, my partner and I, he and I were having the conversation, and he was talking about some things about, one of the communities that he's in that bother him. And it's something that he's had in his career and in his workplace. And, I said, well, if those people are going to continue to make that mistake, let them. Let them. And so let them has become a very, popular catch term lately in the spiritual and self-growth circles. But what it's really speaking to is this ability to allow. It's ability for you to reach your shine, right? And make the decisions you need to make for your highest and best good while allowing others. Softening into the energies of that's how they are. They haven't learned that lesson yet, or they've yet to learn that. They're here to learn something different than me. I'm back. Okay, I'm back. From 7 to 8 p.m. Central on the 19th, October 19th, that's the next one, I will do a whole hour of mini readings. But feel free to ask a question. What's happening is when I do these mobile lives, and I've got to figure out a way to turn this off. When I do these mobile lives, anytime somebody calls in, and that was a spam call, and it sends it to voicemail, it freezes my phone. Okay, and Jason and I too need to upgrade our phones. So we're trying here. But this is the energy to work on in career, in the workplace, coworkers, people who report to you, boss, learners. How are we integrating this into a better balance? And sometimes in the workplace, we just have to let them. We have to let them and make our decision about possibly moving away if needed. Teresa has a lot of blue and gold showing up today. You cannot stop any energy. It cannot be created or destroyed. So better to respect each and every perspective, and same to ignore, right? So, and that's the wisdom, Pramod. So you're on to the wisdom, and that's beautiful expression of the Libra balance, where, and especially don't forget to respect yourself, right? So if you're in a position in work or career where you're not being valued and respected, you can make the choice to exit that and find something better. Some of you will be going into business for yourselves, right? And becoming your own boss. And that in and of itself is yet another, because then you bump into all these dynamics within yourself where you're like, how am I going to make this work, right? Because we come in and we have these structures, and we all want to have shelter, have food, have water, and be comfortable, right? At the same time. But there's a lot of things that are uncomfortable, and those are the things that help us grow. So the workplace is actually a really good place to practice these energies, I feel, because you are going to get the different types of people in the workplace. Jenny says, am I leaving my job for a new one before my boss is leaving for pension? Jenny, I'll just give you a quick, I got you like flying away. I think something new is coming your way, but come back on Sunday nights. All right. 7 to 8 p.m. Central every other Sunday, October 19th, November 2nd, November 16th, and December 14th. Those are the last 4 Q&As this year. And ask questions. Like, let me know how it goes, see how things go, and then ask the question in there. All right. Love it. Karen's here. Hello, Karen. You slept in. That's amazing. You're joining at exactly the right time for you. You wanted to rest. Yep. Oh no, you got your kids' cooties. Oh no. Well, you've got to nurture yourself. Yes, where sometimes you can't rest. The inverse finds a way to settle and calm you. Yes. And you know, that's what we're kind of talking about today, is that Libra season equilibrium. Okay, so Jenny's flying away. She's doing something, some action happening there. And that's great, because these messages are meant to be reminders for everyone of how to best be on the most rich, fertile foundation you can be on, the most solid foundation for you to launch. All right, so you've done some work here, and you're continuing to do the work because you're aware. You're working on embodying this wisdom. That's why we're talking about these things today. Now we're going to do some tarot breakout readings, which are going to be really fun and interesting. And these aren't topics necessarily that are brand new. It's not like a news flash, nothing new under the sun here, but they are the things that I feel are ongoing challenges for those in the spiritual entrepreneur growth communities here. So those of us who are who have the wisdom to understand the kind of world we're in, and what we're navigating here, these things are going to constantly come up, especially if they're holding us back in any way, and especially in connection to relationships, because it's Libra season and we're talking about relationships, whether we'd like to or not, right? Okay, so we're going to get into 3 different breakout tarot readings. I'm going to switch over to tarot cards. Y'all, this deck was calling today the Wild Wolf Tarot. Oh my goodness, I love this one so much. This deck was like, you have to use me today for these tarot readings. And I just love the way this is a simple deck, and it's also very powerful with the wolf energy, and wolves travel in packs, so the whole relationship thing, it all kind of goes together. All right, so we've got that, and we've got, to clarify, the Hide Tarot. Now I love this deck too, because this is by Dan Francis, and he uses some really, really interesting, different kind of totems and symbols for the different tarot cards. I love this because I feel like this is a black and white deck, and it kind of gives us that contrasting expression that I like to see, that adds some depth to some of the readings. So we're going to use the Wild Wolf Tarot and the Hide Tarot today for these breakout readings. Karen says, insomnia was the thing holding me back and all my anxious energy. It's good that you've had that knowing. Yes, I mean, let's talk about not getting enough sleep, not being hydrated enough. These are very important things, right? And those can be the things we forget, because we wake up, when we wake up, we get into the energy of whatever's going on. A lot of us are caretakers. We're caring for children. We're doing things for other people. We have to go to work. We have these responsibilities, right? And we forget, to prioritize. And I'm not saying you don't prioritize sleep. You probably are really trying to get sleep, but sometimes, that just doesn't happen, whether it's illness, hormones, noises, whatever it might be, right? And so sometimes we have to see, can I adjust? Can I take a nap? Can I work from bed? All right. Do you have the option to work out of bed? I have done that. There have been some days where my energy is so low, so low that I bring my laptop and my little tray here where my laptop sits, and I get into bed and I do the work, right? But Karen, you've realized this, and now you can't be anxious. You just have to focus on your health and yourself alone. The message for Scorpio last week was being gentle, surrender, and self-care, but I couldn't turn off the hamster wheel. Really interesting, because when you came in a little bit late, earlier in the Oracle reading, the surrender came in again. Now we were talking about relationship dynamics, but allowing and surrender, some of these types of energies pop back up. And when we're talking about relationships, it is, you know, it's relationships to ourselves. Space. There's some space, right? Receptive energies. It's the relationships to ourself and also others, how it impacts. Yeah, I know. I thought of Han Solo too when I said it like that because, you know, I'm a original Star Wars fan. The original 3 are my faves. Like, those are the movies that like gave me hope in life and, you know, really piqued my imagination. So, Harjas Purba, the hamster wheel. I think I have my own issues with the hamster wheel. When we talk about the hamster wheel, we're talking about the mind going and going and going and going and feeling that anxious energy. Like a hamster, to get exercise, will run in a wheel. They run in a little wheel, you put it in with them, and they just run to get their exercise. But it's like it never stops. It's always going. And a lot of people feel like that in their workplace, right? Where it's like a never-ending hamster wheel. So when we talk about that, that's what we're talking about. And Karen's saying how, you know, I couldn't turn that off. I couldn't get off the hamster wheel. Everything was just going and it was causing, you know, that insomnia. What is force of bed? Okay, so in the movie Star Wars, they talk about this invisible force that is going on around us all the time, like the energy, right? So it's very much like an energy. And that energy, like you said, it cannot be created and destroyed. It's always flowing. But are we going to flow with what is true and in alignment? Are we going to flow with the darkness and the shadows, right? And are we going to do both? And how does both bring us into alignment, right? So when we talk about the force, she was kind of making a joke with me because I'm a Star Wars fan, and Han Solo is a character and in Star Wars. And he actually is very doubtful at first about the force existing. He's very pragmatic. He's very practical. A real world kind of masculine energy, right? And so it's hard for him to really tune into that until later when he experiences the Jedi, which are the people who are tuned into the force, the sensitives, the empaths of the world. And then I was talking about working from bed when I'm feeling tired and I don't want to be up and I don't want to get distracted trying to clean or do other things. Sometimes I work from my bed where I'm comfortable, and maybe it's a feminine thing to do, but it just feels good sometimes to keep comfy clothes on and just work from bed. So that's where we were going with all of that. Hope that makes sense. These tarot breakout readings, the first one we're going to go into. So remember, these are energies that even the wisest of us and the most spiritually experienced, we still are human. We still have a human aspects that deal with forgiveness. And so we're going to get into how can we encourage forgiveness and do that in a consistent manner so that when we come up upon it, right, and we get kind of that little nudge of like, there's something I'm holding on to that I need to let go of. And maybe it's a past hurt. Maybe it's self-judgment, or you've blamed yourself for something. How can we really actually, how can we embody that forgiveness, right? And let that flow. Because when we stumble up upon that energy, it doesn't always feel very flowy. It feels like, oh, I'm resisting, you know, and then we're going to transition from encouraging forgiveness, will be the first reading, into releasing resentment. Okay, so now I've identified something. How do I release it? How do I let go those grudges that maybe I hold, right? Like Karen, I'm thinking of the downstairs neighbors, right? Yee, the noisy ones, the ones that are constantly disturbing your peace, right? I'm thinking of, it's those kinds of energies. It can be very hard for us to forgive and allow it and let go that resentment. But the reason why we want to do it is because those energies create a heaviness within us, right? And so we want to have that pressure valve to release those heavier energies. It's not for them necessarily. We're not excusing poor behavior. We're not necessarily even allowing it. It's about releasing ourselves from those heavier energies. And so that's really the direction that I want these readings to take today, and to help us with that, to give us some tips to like maybe show where some of our edges are with that, or some of our dark corners, our hard spaces, like where we feel trapped, right? And the tarot really can speak to these energies and help this bring it into light. And sometimes it's just the manner of like understanding that it's there is the first step. And once you understand what it is, you're like, oh, that's where I'm holding on to something. Then you can let it go. Sometimes all you need to do is see it. So it can be a quick release sometimes. Other things, depending on your soul's journey and the lessons you're meant to learn, it can take a little longer. And so we're going to allow for that too. That's why in the very beginning, when I talked about using this Libra season to come into a balance, to plant those seeds and sow the seeds of equilibrium, we really want to come into that stabilized place. That's the goal. So that as we go to build, we can build on a stronger foundation, a richer soil, right? For what we're growing, for our manifestations. All right. Libra season is a great time to do this. And that's why we're immersed in this right now. And so that resentment, that heaviness is stagnating energy. It often feels like energetically when I'm working with a person and I feel into their energy and they're carrying like a guilt or a resentment, an inability to forgive themselves or someone else, it feels like cement on their soul. I perceive it as like a hardness. And sometimes we have to crack on that and break it apart so their natural self can emerge from all that heaviness. And sometimes it's self-imposed. We do it to ourselves. We're hard on ourselves. We judge ourselves, right? Maybe our upbringing caused us to be that way, right? And then we're going to go from, forgiveness to resentment to finding our empowered voice, right? And how many times have we been frozen or stagnant and we just cannot get the words out, the communications out that we want to get out? And this is about for boundaries, setting healthy boundaries. It's also about just being able to vocalize what's true for you, okay, what's in alignment for you and what is not. And it's about reclaiming your power. So I think it's a really nice note to end on as we go through these different readings. So my hope and intention is that you find some really rich soil in these tarot readings. And I think you're just going to love the cards too. These two decks coming out together, I was so excited today because these cards are so well done, okay? I love them. So let's get into this. We're going to start with encouraging forgiveness. Let me know in the comments, do you struggle sometimes with forgiveness? Could be forgiveness of someone else who has done wrong. Could be forgiving yourself, all right? I know for me, like the self-forgiveness is super important, but I even have like, I have a really hard time like forgiving the man who made the decision to drink and drive and cause my mother harm. She got, he hit her car. She is okay. But I have a really hard time forgiving people who make those kinds of decisions. When I hear that a van plowed down someone in a crosswalk, that bothers me. I'm very disturbed by that. What in the world? Like, I have a hard time when I hear stories like that. I'm very sensitive, very sensitive. I have some college friends whose daughter was hit by a drunk driver. And a year later, she died of complications and injuries from that. It's just, I have a really hard time forgiving someone that would make that kind of decision. And there's even worse out there, right? We know that, right? So it's just, being sensitive, it can be very hard to do that. Karen says, I do have forgiveness work to do, and I always get so much from Fridays more than the other days. Isn't that interesting? Yeah, because those of you who are showing up, your energy is showing up, and so I'm picking up on your energetic signatures. Even though these are collective messages, they can actually be and feel quite personal sometimes. Harja says, you know how we are self-dependent age, like at a self-dependent, oh, when we become self-reliant. Forgiveness has many levels, many layers. Yep, that's why we want to work on it consistently. Okay, here. All right, creators, I think with forgiveness, I think and feel that we're going to land in the right place with everything. I feel some of you are doing quite well in the cycles, even if sometimes you don't feel like it, right? Okay, so that stagnant, stuck energy, I feel like as creator beings, you're doing a good job. It's just the buildup in between seems a little tough. The very first card we got is this deck's play on the Eight of Pentacles. And the Eight of Pentacles is about education and knowledge and wisdom. It's called the Eight of Hunters in this deck. All right. Now, it's a card of abundance, but it's also a card of action. So this is like actions that you take, right, in order to understand where this energy is building up in between, that stuck energy. Let me answer Harja's question. You have Instagram. Yes, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, it's at Creators on the Crest. Now on YouTube, it's at Creators on the Crest 1111, but all the other platforms, it's at Creators on the Crest. And Karen says, good morning, Tressa. Yes. It's nice to have you all here. Okay, so we are figuring something out. When it comes to whatever place we're at with encouraging and embodying forgiveness within ourselves, there's something to be learned here, okay? So sometimes we resist because we feel, oh, I've been through this before, another layer of this, another level of this. Why? You know, like I thought I already let this go. I thought I already released this energy, and then it, you know, comes up again. And then our mind is like, yeah, you know, the steam coming off, you know, the head here of like, this is a lot, you know, I've done this already. And so that kind of stagnant energy can show up, and learning about it can help, but it doesn't always, like, it's not always the action we need to release it. So this is coming up for us. Some of us might be in a little bit of that pinch with forgiveness sometimes. So think about like the person or the self, the aspect of the self that you find the hardest to forgive. And you can go and you can learn all these techniques for releasing and forgiveness and those modalities, and you can try all these things, but it's the one thing that continues to have you feeling stuck. That's the kind of energy I'm talking about here that we're going into. So it feels like an overwhelm. It feels like, whew, this is really hard work to move through this, right? It's really hard for me to find that forgiveness, and actually not just find it, but feel it in my heart, to take the right actions, the right steps to release it. But that's coming up. Now remember, it's also a card of abundance, number 8. So even though sometimes this may not happen as quickly as we like, we may be going through the different levels. It's those times when we tell ourselves, I thought I released this, right? I thought I was done with this. And here it is popping up again from my subconscious, blowing my mind and getting my attention. And then that causes too, or it can cause, we got another 8 here. This is very interesting because again, cycles, the infinity symbol here. Eight of Watchers, which is the Eight of Swords, which is anxiety. It's like churning in that downward spiral. It's like going toward the black hole, right? Getting sucked in. The Eight of Swords, right? And so these two cards, I think, coming up together here are indicating just how advanced your level of work is with forgiveness, okay? Because these two together, these are difficult. You're meeting it, you're figuring out, oh, this is what it is, this is here, you're educated on it. Yet there is still that pull into anxiety. It still triggers anxiety within. And it's like getting pulled into that black hole, slowly stretched. That spaghettification, right? That happens, that they talk about, that energy. Now, of course, we're expanding as that happens, and we're becoming different, right? A different version of ourselves, because we're getting ready to release that. And the reason I really feel like, even though that seems like tough energy, right? Oh my goodness, yes, the anxiety that comes with it, like the anxiety that comes with knowing. All right, and now I'm burping. I'm feeling the energies rise up. I'm getting the analogy of like the Matrix movies of taking the red pill. When you become aware and you realize the responsibility that comes along with your awareness, and you're responsible for this level of radical forgiveness and acceptance, wow, that's really going to grow me. It's really going to stretch me into these places, and it's not always going to feel the easiest. But I see the light at the end of the tunnel here with the Wheel of Fortune card. This is this deck's version of number 10, the Wheel of Fortune, seasons, life cycles. And so the acceptance that this is a part of the life cycles, of course, represented here by fixed sign energies, Leo, Scorpio, Libra, and Aquarius, right? Is that right? It's Libra? No, it's not Libra. Never mind. Libra is a cardinal sign. I don't know why I said Libra. I wanted to throw Libra in there. Leo, Scorpio, Taurus, and Aquarius are our fixed signs here, showing up in these cycles. So Scorpio season is upon us. I think some of you are going to feel that release during Scorpio season, okay? I think some of you, that's coming up. Scorpio has a way of pulling you in, whether you like it or not, okay? That kind of energy. But understanding that it's a part of a cycle, okay? And that you will move through it. There's movement here with the Wheel of Fortune, which I really like. It tells me and indicates to me you're going to move through it. Now, I would like to ask the High Tarot here how we deal with this anxiety, and let me read Karen's message because it has a lot to do with that. The anxiety has been the big struggle for me lately, and I think I released a bunch of it yesterday with acceptance and forgiveness, but it was a big release and revelation. And you also said that you got the cooties and were not feeling well, right? Sometimes that happens. Sometimes when we're releasing something big, we have that, we pick up something because it really gets our attention. You see a keyhole. I love that. Yes. Visualizing this like you just are figuring out what's the best key. It's like that glowing door, and you have to figure out the best key. How can you move through this the best? And that's what I want to get clarification on from the High Tarot there, is that Eight of Watchers card, the Eight of Swords, the anxiety there. You know what is illuminating this is also powers. Absolutely. Absolutely. When we move through this, we're moving through these cycles and we are empowering ourselves, right? The anxiety, though, is what makes us maybe feel a bit disempowered. Some of us may be anxious because we are so sensitive to the energy. Some of us are anxious because we're kind of forward thinking and we're in the future energies, and that can cause a certain anxiety. There's other influences. There's outside influences as well, like the timeline shifting and the particle collider and the CERN and the Hadron Collider and them and the solar flares. There's all these energies that are seemingly outside of us that we're also connected to. So it can be a lot. Karen says, unlocking the door to forgiveness and abundance feels like a dark and scary tunnel. Absolutely. You're traveling through yet another portal, but as you're getting pulled in, this anxiety, it is teaching you. It's teaching you something. What is it teaching us? Let's find out. I'm going to pull 2 cards to clarify. Ooh, very interesting. The 8 of Watchers, anxiety. If we look at that like the keyhole, which I really love that Karen is seeing that in the card. Maybe some of you could see that keyhole now. We got the 6 of Pentacles, which is about exchange, very much a Libra energy. And it's meant to represent an equal exchange of energy, whether it be within yourself. Maybe it has to do with the dark, scary tunnel, but then the light that's on the other side. So it could be that for you. Now in this deck, this is why I love this deck. It's so interesting. It's represented by the mask. So the advice here is to shed the mask, right? Maybe it's the mask of anxiety. Maybe for some of us, perhaps anxiety has become more integrated in our persona than we would like, more integrated into our health than we would like. And I see a dissolving mask here. I see a chipped mask here. I see the mask disintegrating. Maybe the anxiety or beginning to travel that path is actually a blessing in disguise, with the mask being a disguise, right? Because we're turning ourselves inside out. It's like traveling into the black hole and out the other side to the theoretical white hole, right? Where we come out the other side of on the light, in the light. But both are a part of this universe. Therefore, both are a part of us. And so for some of us, it's about shedding the mask. It's about maybe admitting when you feel anxious, even if it's just to one person. Can someone hold the space to watch you, to witness you as you shed this mask, as you let it dissolve, as you create a healthier exchange for yourself when it comes to anxiety? 6 is also a number of success. So again, I'm feeling a very positive outcome to this level, this season of forgiveness for you. That doesn't mean it doesn't feel hard as you're going through it, though. But that difficulty is informing. We also here got a little tip from the owl, which is to me a bird of ultimate wisdom, right? With the Queen of Cups. I'm also kind of getting a high priestess vibe here. But the owl here comes in and says, take care of yourself through this. Love yourself through this. Love the darkness that you experience, because it will also lead you that much further into the light. Love the fact that you can travel this, that you can put the key there and turn it and shift it and open that door, that portal into something different, into something better, into something more freeing, right? So there's this beautiful energy of the embodiment of taking care of your, loving yourself through this. And maybe also, is there at least one other who can watch and witness and hold space for you? It can be very powerful to have someone witness and love you through that. Is that possible? I know that some people don't feel like they have anyone who can hold that kind of space for them. But could it be that maybe it's just shadowed from you right now, right? For some, this may mean if it's someone else you're working on forgiving, this could mean that you do confront that you do approach that the mask comes off. Maybe even the gloves come off and you just come into your full heart and your full honesty with it. For others of you who are working on forgiving yourself or making those kinds of amends, it could mean expressing that to someone else. Even if you're forgiving yourself, I'm forgiving myself for this. Do you have a friend? Do you have someone who can hold space? I am getting another witnessing you doing that. And this is a good time for me to bring up the be available. I will be co-hosting the Green Rose Temple this evening with Tara Green. And she's a lovely priestess. And she has been on my Real Life Mages podcast before, and we discussed eclectic paganism, which is very interesting to dive into. But I will be a part of the Green Rose Temple tonight, and I have posted that on my Instagram story. If you'd like to join, it's a Telegram group, and she's going to do a sermon on talk on connecting with that source energy, and I'm going to be there as well. I'll be guiding through a visualization. It's at 4:44 p.m. Pacific, which is 6:44 Central. So adjust for your time, but you can go to my Instagram for that link to join the Green Rose Temple. It's a free online community, and she would love to have you there. So I just wanted to say that because in that session, it's places like that, it's containers like that where we get to be witnessed in a safe, supportive space, right? As well, all right? Also, I feel like my Sunday night lives where we do the mini personal readings are another great space to be witnessed as you're asking questions, as you're getting the reading themes going. And so many people are in there supporting you. Great question. I'm feeling that too. I'm with you on that, right? So find these places where you can be witnessed, whether it's online or in person. In person's even better. It can be more intimate, right? But it needs to be safe for you. So I'm getting that sense there. But embodying that Queen of Cups energy says, I'm going to take care of myself through this. I'm going to love myself through this process of forgiveness, as difficult as it might be. Karen says, my guru friend used to say forgiveness is on the other side of fear. I love that. Yep. I think the mask for me is I have it, like the mask of I have it all under control. I can figure it out by myself. I'm not going to ask for help, right? That excessive and unnecessary independence. Yes, it's like that resistance, right? It's very powerful and very vulnerable to be seen by someone else going through one of your toughest processes, right? But it's also extremely empowering. If you can get through that fear, it's extremely empowering to be witnessed. And it also has the potential to open up that space for others then to step into that vulnerability and also find that safe space to be witnessed, be heard, be acknowledged, right? And if we're constantly putting up a block to that, that also causes anxiety because there's something in your greater being saying, I want to be seen, or I need to express this so I can move through these energies. And if the ego comes in and says, no, you got this. You don't need anybody's help. You don't need to go to that group therapy. You don't need to do that. Don't do that. Scary, 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 right? It interferes with that energy and it creates that block. And then more anxiety builds until you figure it out and the way in which you can express it. Karen says 555, that's movement power number for you. Yes, 555, fives are all about change. I'm a life path 5, so when people come into my life, I don't even have to say anything. A lot of times they'll be uncomfortable because of the change agent in the energy. There's like a change, like I call it the change agent. There's like this energy of change, of like changing, evolving for the better. There's a lot of movement involved. Sevens can also be a number of change and movement. Fives usually come with a little more challenge, a little more conflict from my experience. That's the time of the call tonight where I am. Yep. So yeah, it'd be 5:44 actually, but you got that 5 in there for a reason. But yes, in my Instagram story, I have a link to the Green Rose Temple. Would love to see you there. Okay. That's forgiveness, everybody. That is forgiveness for us. Let's move on into releasing resentment. So now we're going into even more ways to release. We know we have to love and care for ourselves through these harder, challenging, and I'm getting a really itchy nose now for this resentment thing, probably because it's a personal thing for me too. Oh, and I'm a Cancerian energy. Some of the signs, depending on your blueprint, have a harder time releasing grudges. Cancer, Scorpios can hold on to these. And so that can be, you know, disturbing to our own energy fields if we hold on to stuff for too long. It becomes a stagnant energy. So we're going to get some tips and tricks for how to release resentment. Okay. Sometimes resentment has built up because we've not been able to express ourselves. Sometimes resentment has been built up from our childhood where we were shut down and patterns developed from that. So what can we do, universe, to really move through releasing resentment here? And we have some ancestral interference here, y'all. So I think for many of us, it may have been times where we needed to express ourselves or maybe even share an unpopular opinion, right? And we got shut down. We got told we can't do that, whether it be by a person or an entity, so to speak, like on social media or something like that. Because that happens now, right? Make no mistake that social media is totally interwoven with anxiety and games, right? Algorithmic games, right? And what you have to remember at the end of the day, and what you have to go for, is that you are the algorithm. You are the algorithm. You want to take that power back, okay? Because the way that it's set up and it's extending into the online with these inversions is that it will suck you in and it will trigger these patterns. But, you know, I always see that too as a learning experience, a learning opportunity, and a way in which we can become aware of some of the places we might be holding on to resentment. And a lot of times it's because we haven't found that voice. We haven't found our voice. We haven't expressed ourselves the way that we really needed to. We never felt free to do that. And it's coming in with number 5. This is the Hierophant in this deck, and it's called Traditions. For some of you, this could be religious oppression as well, feeling very repressed or oppressed. I grew up in a traditional Methodist family. My father was a minister. And so what an interesting place, what an interesting energy to grow up in when I had all of these other spiritual aspirations, right? So I formed a lot of resentment growing up because, and I can even feel it now, residual energy from it. I was unable to spiritually express myself the way I felt was best. And some of these traditions are passed down generation to generation. We're dealing with generational ancestry here. For some of you, it may extend as far into generational curses, right? Where the energy feels so heavy. Some of the resentment you carry may not even be rooted in what's originally yours. It could be rooted in your blood codes, in your soul codes, in your DNA from the past. I feel that very much for some of you. So it's like, why am I feeling that way? Why am I bumping into that energy? It's because you're at the point in your evolution where you're breaking these patterns in your ancestry. You're breaking tradition. You're going to take a hunt the different direction, right? The hunt, the traditions are very necessary, but also meant to evolve, right? So they have a necessity, like for the wolves hunting, they have to have food, they have to eat. But how can they evolve it? How can they become more efficient with that? There's a very primal aspect that I'm feeling here. What's interesting to me is that if you just adjust your eyes, or I pull the card back, these wolves actually have the outline of like trees, almost like pine trees. Back. I think it's my kid's dad trying to call. Let me see if they can call him on a different phone. 1 second. I'll be right back. Bien? Leo? Yep. Can you call your dad on Mimi's phone? Because he keeps trying to call. Okay. Just want to make sure he gets to talk to the kids. Okay. So, traditions. There we have it. Ancestry, blood codes, resentment passed down and built up. All right. Then we have the Seven of Watchers. This is the Seven of Swords. This is deception energy. And we have the wolf with the tail between its legs. That's the fear energy, right? So deception connected to stagnation, connected to the energy of resentment, becomes something that robs us. So it's like a robbery. We're like getting robbed of our vital life force energy. And it's when we become aware of this, when we bump into it, because why? Because we're growing into something more. We're this, and to release this resentment, we've got to face that fear. It's all connected into that energy that stagnates us. You can't ignore it. You can. What does that cause? It causes imbalance, right? We're in Libra season. We want to be balanced. It causes imbalance in the physical body. It causes illness, right? On any variety of levels. Again, we've got 7. We've got 5. Karen and I were just discussing those. That's the energy of movement, right? The mind will sometimes, being that this is the 7 of Swords, the 7 of Watchers, the mind will sometimes hold on to the idea that you've actually released something that you haven't released. Or like Teresa said earlier, there could be layers. Girl Gone's here. Hello, Girl Gone. Oh, I'm glad you're catching the live now. We missed you earlier on. It was a cool oracle reading about relationships. So hopefully you can check that out later. Right now, we're doing a reading on releasing resentment. Okay, so when we're in resentment, we're in that stagnant energy, and there's an air of deception, right? Because it's not our natural flow energy. What's really cool, though, is I see a progression here. We go from the 7 of Swords, the 7 of Watchers. That's that fearful, stuck, resentment, stagnating energy. Maybe originating in bloodline, right? Traditions passed down, breaking, creating a new reality. That's what Creators on the Crest is about, creating a new reality. We're moving into, though, the 9 of Swords, the 9 of Watchers. And in this deck, realization. It's a realization, okay? Now, sometimes this comes to be through stressors that we feel, mental stress, mental pressure. We feel it in our body. But now we have the wolf and the raven partnering together. We have the earth and the air. We're bringing in another element, right? We are bringing in a greater wisdom through this realization here with this 9. Again, the 9 connects to the Hermit card. It's about inner wisdom, inner knowing, right? And that's the energy we're moving into to be able to release this resentment. We have the realization. Now I'm going to clarify that card and see what more we can get. Girl Gone has been working not to let negative energy affect her, and it can be hard. Yes, it can be really, really hard. Some of that more difficult energy also came up in the breakout reading right before this, which was encouraging forgiveness for ourselves and others. Yeah, it's really hard, especially if the source of the negativity seems to be like just, it won't stop. It's just consistent, right? It can be extremely hard to break free of that, right? And definitely if you're tuned into some of the collective inverted energies, what's going on online, the right, the left, the this, the that, like pulling people into extremes, and we lose sight of the big picture because our perspective is way over here in some extreme. That's part of the game. Or we're dealing with people that are pulled into those extremes. We're not there, but we're dealing with those people over here and over here all the time, fighting each other, right? It's exhausting. And we can begin to resent the space we're in. Like, wait a minute, I'm over here, I'm creating, I'm bringing things into balance, I'm enriching the soil, I'm making it more fertile. Why isn't this showing up in the effects field yet? And sometimes we have to look for it, because the ultimate here on earth, the ultimate training ground, where things are not readily apparent, where those good enriching experiences, we have to look into it a little deeper. We have to find that gratitude, right? We have to go in there. Thank you, Girl Gone. Yes, we hope you're having a great day too. Thank you for saying hi to everyone. Karen says in Chinese numerology, number 9 is abundance. See, I love that, right? I love that. I have not studied the Chinese numerology, but I think it's all very important. And since it's close to the 8, it makes sense with the different calendars that all that energy would overlap there. So we've still got abundance there, abundance of realization, right? Beautiful, definitely been around birds and coyote animals lately. Love it. Yes, this is one of my favorite decks, the Wild Wolf Tarot. I love it. It's by Brianna Jolie Sauce and Jessica Tompkins. I hope I said their names right. I think I got this deck on Etsy. I think. The Wild Wolf Tarot. Kind of feel like it's trying to push me off my spiritual journey path. Yes, that's what it has a tendency to do. It can be very distracting, this resentful energy, right? It can sneak up on us. That deceptive energy, it like sneaks up. Then all of a sudden it's there. I found out I'm a number 4 life path and the messages are crazy. Oh man, we should do like a numerology frequency Friday sometime and go into the different life paths. That would be really cool. Negativity nonstop is a theme for you lately, Tressa, getting pulled in. Yes. So at least you've had the realization of that though. That's the first step. Now let's get a few clarifiers. This is the Hyde Tarot. We're going to get a few clarifiers for this realization. Okay, we realize it. Now what, right? We're getting an abundance of realization. It's a lot of energy to sort through. We need to release this resentment, right? Because it's that stagnant energy. What does the universe recommend? Interesting. Okay, so number one, this is a lot. So we have all this realization coming in, and we've got the cocoon. The cocoon here is this deck's representation of the Two of Wands. Seeming as we have a 9 here, seeming as a cocoon, to me represents like a bit of a hermit energy. This is finding value in the inner world, in the inner processing of yourself, okay? Processing these energies of yourself for yourself. So you've had this realization. You know you're carrying this resentment. This may be the energy of, you know what? Take a few minutes. You don't got to take forever, but a few minutes to sit with this energy, to really feel it. I do get a little bit of a sense, I'm intuiting a bit of overwhelm, okay? For some, maybe Cal, it's overwhelming for you to think that archetypal and alchemical energy can be contained in symbols and visualizations, right? We welcome you here, though. We welcome your comments. Help me grow. I appreciate you for that. All right. Exactly when you realize it and you know it's not something good is basically when you call it out and I don't want to be a part of it. Right. So you may need to pull back. There may be this moment of, oh, I have all this. It's overwhelming. Let me cocoon for a minute because I need to get right in my own energies here because I know this is transforming for me, but I want to be in the power of this transformation. I want to be empowered in this space of transformation, not let these other things, these negative things dictate it for me, right? So that Two of Wands, fire energy comes in and says, let's pull back. Let's spend a few minutes, a few hours, a few days, a few weeks, however long you need, in the cocoon to really sort through this a bit. Okay, and what's interesting is there's a Gemini energy coming in next. Remember, I was feeling the earth and the air element really being a part of this particular reading. In this particular deck, though, the Lovers, which is the card of Gemini, is represented by the glove. Does the glove fit? Does it help? Is it protective, right? Is it a protective energy? You know, it's really interesting in this. One of the energies I'm feeling that some of you might be describing as negativity is something that's masked in like this fake energy of love, but you know it's not. It kind of reminds me of like the false light energy where everything's sunshine and rainbows, or somebody's pretending that it is, but under the surface it's not, and maybe that has affected you. You can have people act like that. I tend to see it in the corporate world when I was in the workplace a lot, where like it's a dumpster fire, but they're pretending like it's not, like, but they're not really addressing the real meat and potatoes of what's going on, right? This Gemini energy is taking me into perspective. It's seeing the different sides of things. Maybe it is like the polarities, the negative and the positive, the plus and the minus, the light and the dark in this. And this is like, it looks to me like an old-fashioned leather glove. Maybe it's all about how we handle what we've realized here, because I'm getting kind of like, it's how we handle it. It's how we protect ourselves and cocoon ourselves and shield ourselves from this energy. that might contribute to the buildup of resentment, contribute to those deceptive energies. The cocoon can also represent a place where we face some of our own fears. So there may be a certain fear coming up. Maybe we've held on to resentment at times as a form of defense. And that glove doesn't fit anymore. So we have to try again, or we have to make a new glove. The glove can also represent a protection kind of energy where we are going to deal with it, but we're also going to shield and guard ourselves from it. We're not just going to, dive in and just with no protection. We're going to keep our energetic protections up while we look at this. Tressa says, well, let me back up a little. Karen says, being sick feels like a cocoon, like the phoenix smoldering in the ashes before rising. Also, like the forest, pine trees in the fire before the forest gets reborn and rebuilt. Right. So these are those cycles, right? That they take a little bit longer sometimes than we think. Girl Gone, has been here, and she's talked about being in hermit mode, and she's talked about emerging from that, but sometimes you have to go back into it a little bit in certain ways. Or maybe there's one area of life you're kind of exiting that hermit mode and you're coming out, but there's another area where you're like, nah, I need to cocoon a little bit longer. Tressa said, loves the suggestion of the cocoon. You've been feeling that overwhelm, right? And you want to get to a place where you find that rich, fertile soil and that overwhelm, where that overwhelm becomes the fullness of your life, right? And it's all in what you're going to pour the nutrients into. And we need to protect that energy with the Lovers here. Interesting, Tressa, you carry the Gemini energy as well, right? I think, Karen, your partner's a Gemini. So some of this could be reflected in that way. You could lean into maybe the Gemini energy in your chart or in someone around you that may be helpful in this case. Tressa says, I went to a cleaning glove and that I need to clean the resentment out. Yes, that could be it too. I got this like weird finger on it, and I'm thinking of like rubber gloves I use so I don't get dishpan hands, and they never fit quite perfect, right? You're always kind of like got the like a little extra space on the end, or even if you try to get the right size and then it's too tight around the wrist or something, right? So it's getting that right glove so you can clean out the resentment. And maybe that's a great tip. I don't know about you all, but I like cleaning is something that has to be done, like laundry, wash, rinse, repeat, right? I like to make it into a moving meditation. So it could be time to clean, and you're cleaning your environment, you're envisioning and you're setting the intention that you're also clearing out resentment, clearing out your space, taking things to the donation center, getting rid of the recycling, taking out the trash, so to speak. That could be a really good, we've got to do it anyway in most cases, right? Unless we have enough money to pay someone to do it. But in most cases, we're doing a certain level of work ourselves, a certain level of cleaning, and it's a great time to make that a moving meditative practice. Karen says, the only thing that pops in my mind about glove is Johnny Cochran. If the glove doesn't fit, you must acquit. I almost said that earlier because I was thinking of that too. And that's another thing I hold resentment about. Thinking of OJ, sorry, but people that are guilty but get acquitted or get off, like and then they back out into society and then they go, hurt someone else. That may not have happened in that case, but like exactly like that, but it's very difficult. And people are like, and they had like 14 prior offenses, and you're like, then why are they roaming about whatever they want, hurting more people? Like how can that be? Right? So the justice, right? It's Libra season. We want justice. Necessarily bad things to happen to bad people, although sometimes, I'm not going to lie, my shadow side's like a sense of satisfaction, you reap kind of stuff. But we want that justice. in its purest form. We want that balance. And it's when we see that negative imbalance, it just constantly pulling on society and the collective. It's draining. That's why I don't watch the news. You know, I can't, because I'll be overwhelmed with those energies, and I get more and more resentful because it's spinning a certain way. It's spinning the narrative a certain way that causes me to go deeper into that. And knowing that about myself, I have to steer clear. And same thing on social media platforms sometimes. So yes, Karen, thanks for saying that, because I thought that too. But maybe it's about the pressure we put on ourselves too. Maybe it's about acquitting ourselves, because we've grown, we've changed. You know, our reach is different than it once was. What we're able to reach into is different. So the glove no longer fits. We have to let ourselves off the hook for some of this resentment energy that's built up, and take whatever actions are necessary in order to do that, right? So we can look at it from a different perspective too. But you can see how the balance and the homeostasis and the equilibrium is desiring to come in here with these themes, right? And that is what we utilize this season for, in its highest and best, because that's what I'm always asking. Let these messages be for our highest and best, and really, because we're evolving here, we're creating a new reality, like what I see out there. So I'm trying to create something new, trying to build upon these empowering spaces in the world. And, you know, they're not popular. It's sad, and all that, you know, and it's like addictive for people. And then when someone's talking about something good and pleasant and like, let's free ourselves from this, it's like, you know, that's not dramatic enough for me. I can't. So I commend each and every one of you who tunes in, because we do go deeper into these energies. We don't just scratch the surface and, you know, see if somebody's thinking about us this week or not. That's interesting too, but you know, we go a bit deeper here, and that's just who I am, and that's the kind of community I want to create. People who are doing the work in their own lives and willing to go deeper. Karen says, I think I have gaslighting happening in several areas of my life, people putting stuff on me that isn't me. Yes, that's rough, because a lot of times, being the mature, spiritual, soul-led, heart-led person that you are, you often do check yourself first, and you're taking such a level of accountability and responsibility that sometimes that can bleed through. It's really, really common for people like us who are doing this level of spiritual work in the world and turning ourselves inside out. Some of that can bleed through, and then at some point you're like, wait a minute, no, that's not me. That glove that's not my MO. That doesn't fit me. And it can be really tricky, because it can be inadvertent through people in our lives. It can be quite covert until we finally realize it, right? And so you're already on to that energy. You're suspecting that is happening. And people who aren't doing the work, right? Whoever you end up with around you, level of relationship, close or just distant, but you're sensitive, so you're feeling these energies. When they're not doing the work, it builds up and then it projects out, right? And they may not even be doing it intentionally, but that doesn't make it okay. And so that boundaries, and that creating your own safe space to be able to clear out and distinguish those energies is so important. And it sounds like you're in the middle of that process. Right. And I find that's really something I have to sort through in my relationship with Jason. And I'm sure he does too, because we are so connected and we have such a powerful soul level connection that bleed through sometimes happens. So, and he also has the projector human design. I'm a manifesting generator. That's another interesting thing to look into. But so sometimes something he's going through is something I'll pick up, and then like it's just inadvertent, it just happens, right? Then there's the people who know what they're doing, and that's just a whole other kind of disgusting behavior, right? Because they're just acting in a de-evolved state, and they'll just vomit this energy, you know? But yeah, for me, it tends to affect me more the closer the person is to me. Distinguishing my energies from Jason's, since we're so connected and melded together, can be challenging. Could come through with a family member dynamic, could come through in a workplace dynamic. So it looks like in several areas you've begun to suspect this. I'm kind of getting a Sherlock Holmes vibe. I kind of feel like you putting up a magnifying glass. I don't know. I'm just getting that. Like I've started to see like the detective in you figuring that out. So that's cool. All right, let's get into how we find that empowered voice. So it's the times we need to speak up, or it can be spoken through our actions, the aligned actions that we take in the world, okay? So this tarot reading will be about finding your empowered voice and using it, right? Taking action, speaking your truth, setting your boundaries, and reclaiming your power. This is you able to distinguish between you and another's energy, and then you're holding your energy sacred and you're finding the power in that. Now, it's also a harmonious energy because we are in that, are finding that equilibrium. So just a quick reminder to everyone, if you haven't already, if you're enjoying this, please put a thumbs up on the video. I also wanted to remind everyone that if you're looking for a free personal mini reading, I will be live this Sunday night on October 19th from 7 to 8 p.m. Central here on my channel, okay? And we love the live Q&As. Come in early if you have a burning question, because I usually always run out of time at the end, but I will do as many mini readings as I can. Everybody gets one question or one theme that they bring in, and I will just go through them until 8, and then we wrap up, and then we go 2 weeks, and then the next one will be on 11/2, November 2nd, and then November 16th and December 14th. Your calendars for that. Would love to have you come on, and it's a very supportive community, high vibe, lots of overlapping energies we find in those sessions too, where more than one person is dealing with a certain theme or has a relatability to something that someone asked. So even if you don't have your own personal question, you can come and join, because you will hear. Girl Gone says, yep, with the in-laws and the energy is negative on and off. Ooh. Tressa knows about that too. In-laws. That can be rough, because it can be a whole different way that they're living, right? But yes, also this evening, one more reminder, I will be co-hosting with Tara Green, the Green Rose Temple on Telegram. The link is in my Instagram story to the Telegram group if you'd like to join a ceremony. It starts at 4:44 p.m. Pacific, 6:44 p.m. Central. That's 5:44 Mountain, and 7:44 Eastern time. Girl Gone says, I'm in my element of the grid where I should be at peace, but I feel like the energy around me is trying to throw me off. It will do that. It will absolutely do that. And so I'm glad to hear you're in your kind of grid, your protective grid there. It can be like trying to maintain, like you're moving with a hurricane and you have to, else around you is swirling. And that takes a great amount of discernment and spiritual work. So, I think sometimes when we're talking about finding our empowered voice and the actions that we take, we may have to step up and be a little more direct with that energy, especially if you feel it coming in. You know, on the one hand, you don't want to let it get to the point where it draws you out and then attacks to maintain that empowerment and control. of the situation when it comes to that. That's why knowing your limits and being able to give yourself space and distance yourself and find the reprieve in nature so healthy. But it is difficult. It is difficult because you're very in tune and you are picking up on energy that would come to try to bring chaos to your peace, right? And so you just have to like kind of what's it like, batten down the hashes and buckle up your boots and stand your ground, because that's your peace and you're willing to protect that peace at all cost, right? Tressa says, ugh, in-laws. Yeah. Yeah, it can be rough for people sometimes, even though there's lessons in it. But maybe the lesson is to learn to stand more strongly in that foundation, in that protection, in your cocoon, right? And having those boundaries. And sometimes we have to put a voice to that. And sometimes that voice needs to be direct. No matter how loving a person we are, we can at times need to raise our voice and be more direct and get more to the point with things, right? When it comes to these boundaries, so that they're clear, especially if the encroaching energy is not listening. And, you know, in the extreme cases, we separate ourselves from that energy when it gets to, because we value what's going on here too much to let it be interfered with. And not only that, but there's other people connected to us, sometimes children, that we're doing this for. So wherever you can pull your strength from, if you're inspired by another person, if it's in an energy, like I'm thinking, like I'm getting Joan of Arc, like bring it, because I'm a warrior. You know, I'm getting kind of that warrior woman kind of vibe here. Just work on embodying that, whether it's an archetype or just someone that you're inspired to be in this energy for. Maybe you're teaching someone how to do that, and that's important to you. It's valuable. It's not just your peace and well-being, it's someone else's peace and well-being also is related to this. So thinking about that, maybe it's your pets, right? Your pets can be those little radars that help also that. Like pets can be very good with detecting negative energy, dangerous people, things like that, right? So there's all kinds of relationships here, and you may have that motivation and that extra like reason to do this. Draw on comes from for you, because you're strong in and of yourself, but whatever you can, all your helpers, all the motivative helpers that you can bring in, I think that's important too. I don't think we try to do it all ourselves. Let ourselves be inspired, let ourselves be uplifted, let our resolve be strengthened by those we love and have those loving interactions with, right? Yeah, don't react. That's getting drawn out. That's that art of war. Don't let that chaos draw you out, right? That's why we're working on the layers of forgiveness and releasing resentment, so that it doesn't build to that point where we explode out and then are attacked from all sides, right? And then we burn out and then our nervous system is shot and then we have to through that. I prefer not to go through that if I can avoid that, right? We're trying to do our best to stay on that spiral of creation and not be drugged down, right, into the de-evolutionary energies. Yes, the Joan of Arc movie, yes. Absolutely. So that might be a powerful archetype for you to work to embody that energy, right? That essence of that power. It was just so cute like this, because the way he handles trolls, okay, like he's like, you can't troll someone who has seen the bottom, you know, and so that's a great way and a great perspective to look at like these online trollings that come in, or when you feel like, let's say you post something with a attention on social media, and then all of a sudden in the comments are going crazy and people are triggered and la 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 la, and whatever that is. The way that you handle that is that, you know, you've already graduated that energy, you're already beyond that energy. There is nothing they can say or do that is going to pull you from that center, right? You are already strengthened in that. And so, you know, you've already been there. Joan of Arc saw the bottom, she saw the suffering, she saw the death, and she chose to activate her power and then stand strong and true in that. And so it's choice too. It's making that decision, and it's the commitment that you have to it. So how does this relate to finding our voice? Well, we've got the Nine of Pentacles, and I love this. I'm honestly loving these three cards, and I think this is like a brilliant way that we close out this Friday Live with this particular reading, because it's energies through and through, and it's freedom through and through. We're starting off with freedom. So the Nine of Pentacles in this deck is the Nine of Hunters, and it's the freedom. You have the high road. You have the high road, and you have the sight, you have the vision, and you have already brought things together for yourself that are so empowered and in such a powerful state. The mud and dirt and look for it. Things are now coming to you, right? Yes, there's still going to be those moments where someone try to draw you out of the position, but you are looking upward and onward. And so you are creating and what I want to say, strengthening your energy in a way that you continue upward, no matter what they're doing. They can be barking and moaning and groaning and being feisty and getting triggered and being negative all down here all day. You're up here already. You can't even hear what's going on. There might seem like a little skirmish down there, but you can't hear it because you are dedicated to freeing yourself from those energies, and your resolve is so strong. The Nine is a very, very positive card, okay? And it definitely shows the work you've done in the real world as a human has paid off. So you are multidimensional, you are spiritual things, but the work you've done in the real world as well is solid, and it's come together for you, and it's kept you on the upward path of your own soul's evolution and growth, and your balance, your ability to bring balance into this world. And I think some of you are actively doing that. I think, no, not some, I think all of you creators who have shown up here and are participating, you are doing that. You have done it. That's the path you're protecting. And you're doing it for you, but you're also doing it for others. We do find also with freedom comes that sense of independence. So we got the Queen of Swords in this deck, known as the Beta of Watchers, independence. So this, I feel a real enjoyment from this card of just this sense of up here, we're still up on the ledge here. I am safe. I am protected from those energies. My frequency, okay, the frequency that I'm on this solar spiral, I am in a place where that cannot touch me anymore. All right. I've already been down there. I've been in the pits. I've played in that energy, and I've risen above, and I'm going to hold this position. The Queen of Swords is very confident, and at times she comes off very direct and cold when she needs to. So if somebody needs a dose of that freeze, you give it to them. All right. So they're not going to encroach on your realm here. Okay. Because also unseen in this particular card is the masculine, the alpha, the King of Swords. So the king and queen go together here. This is the feminine energy stepping up and saying, you will not disrupt my flow. Okay, you will not disrupt the harmony that I've created. I'm to it. I'm dedicated to it. I am independent. I have gained my independence from those lower energies. Okay? Yeah. Yeah, Girl Gone. I would say in this particular case, you're not just trying, you're doing. Okay? I know there may be times where you feel like you run into a block, or you don't feel as successful as you would like with tackling these energies and your power. but you're doing it. Doing it, you're actively aware of it. So it's like that Yoda, try not, do or do not. You're in the do. You're in the do of it, right? And you're sorting it out. You're sorting it out. You're utilizing that hermit, that cocoon when needed, when appropriate, right? And I think that's a big part of it. But you're also showing up. You're also showing up in community. So you're doing it. You're doing the work here. And it's very inspiring. Very inspiring to have people show up and contribute. The last card here brings the whole Libra beneficial attributes into alignment with the Justice card, truth. And look at the ferocity. This is that justice we're looking for. This is when stuff goes into balance. You know what I think about sometimes? I think about all the things that couldn't get me because I am in the energy of freedom and independence, because I have walked the path. I have earned the right to sit at that vantage point. And I think about, wow, think about all the energies I've deflected today. We tend to only notice the ones where we feel activated, but think about all the ones that have been deflected, right? Because you've just already embodied this energy. So your energy is bearing the teeth of truth, and you don't even have to say anything sometimes because of the way that you're carrying your energy. Sometimes it's important to say something. Sometimes that saying something frees you up, puts you in a place of independence. Independence is feel the presence of the King of Swords here. I feel the other energies around, but it is that energy of this is my position. This is my position, and I will hold this position because this is my true position and it's in alignment. And nothing will disrupt that harmony and that balance. And that is what is true because I'm aligned. I'm aligned with natural law. I'm aligned with cosmic law. I'm aligned with the natural organic timeline. And that's worth defending and protecting. But it's just very interesting how your energies can be such. You may be deflecting and also silencing those energies without even knowing how much. Yeah. I'm kind of seeing like somebody's like trying to take action to do something bad or negative, and then they like fall down in the and they just, and it like shocks them out of being able to do the bad thing that they were wanting to do. Kind of feels like that. So don't underestimate the power of your energy. So, okay, so let's ask too for clarifiers, how can we navigate this best with the energies and the people that activate us, or some people like to use the word trigger. So in the way of thinking, envision the people who push your buttons, the things that stress you out when you see them, whether it be societal or personal. Think about the that get pushed. How can we best navigate and defend and protect what is true and right? King of Swords. I told you I saw the King of Swords. Believe it or not, these go together. We have the Beta of Watchers, which is the Queen of Swords, and we have the Swan, the King of Swords. I'm thinking about the pack wolf, but I'm also thinking about the dedication of the Swan. They mate for life, a commitment. The commitment is here. The commitment is here. And this is power. There's power in these two energies. They're complementary energies. And that's how we're going to embody the masculine and the feminine, positive and negative charge within our own energies, the receptive and the active forces are coming together. Now, I'm a female, and I have had dreams where I have met my masculine energetic counterpart who has come in a dream. And it is amazing to me because he felt like, even though he's coming through the dream, and I'm seeing a figure and I'm interacting, and it felt like such home. Held in, to be a female held in your own masculine energy, or to be a male who's held in that your very own feminine receptive energies when you need to rest and receive, that's a very powerful thing. And so that, to me, when I had that dream with my own, that was me, it was the masculine aspects of myself shown to me in a dream by my own multidimensional self, and feeling that energy of home and that balance, just that homeostasis, that comfort that I felt. It was amazing. It was amazing. So I cherish that. It was one of those dreams. I'm so enjoying connecting with this part. It's that king and queen energy that we encapsulate. Jenny Carlson's back from Sweden. Hello again, Jenny. Welcome back. We're on our final reading for today. Now, the other card we got, and I think this comes up as more of an encouragement, and I want to call back to, remember when we got the Nine of Swords, the realizations, right? That's coming up again in a little bit different perspective. Got the Nine of Swords, the painting, in this deck. Okay, I think again this is connected to realizations, and I think this is about us sensing the energy. So a painting, right, is an energy placed onto a canvas, and it's something we can look at ourselves. And I think this Nine of Swords is an indicator that we now have that vantage point. We have the masculine and feminine energies aligned so that we can see when those stressor energies are coming. We can see, choose how to interact with them. Remember, we're looking at a painting, right? We're looking at painting. We can either give it love and have it come toward us and consume us, or we can say, I see it. It will remain outside of my bubble. It will remain outside of my energy. It will remain out there, informing me as needed. And in that way, we can turn some of these energies into assistance for us, because they're teaching us something. They're a data point that we can take in and work with, but not from a perspective of energetic drainage, from a perspective of wisdom. I see it, it's out there, and I get to choose how and when I interact with it, or if I do at all, right? So, wow, we've got some really, really powerful energies here that are aligned with the Libra energy in this final reading. So, wow, oh my goodness, everyone. Thank you so much for joining today. Just to do some quick and final reminders here. Live Q&A coming up on Sunday night, 7 to 8 p.m. Central. If you can join, come in, drop a question. It's a very supportive, high vibe community. Would love to see you there. We have the new moon in Libra on the 21st, so coming up next week. And we're moving into Scorpio season it'll be, depending where you live in the world, the 22nd or the 23rd, we shift from Libra into Scorpio. So enjoy the last little few days here we have before we shift into Scorpio season of this Libra energy. You're creating a rich, dark, fertile soil that you can utilize in Scorpio season, right? Scorpio likes that mystery. It likes what's beneath the surface. So right now we're cultivating that in an equilibrium, we're going to make it nice and dark and rich and fertile so that our intentions for this new moon become our highest manifestations. All right. All right. I am so honored. Remember, here at Creators at the Crest, we say stay tuned, stay true, and keep creating. I hope to see you Sunday night or next Friday. Love you all. Take care. Bye.